In 1974, Jack and Janet Smurl thought they'd found their perfect home, a duplex on Chase Street in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. It was a quiet town, a simple house, and a place to raise their family alongside Jack's parents. The American dream, or so it seemed. But the house was not empty. It held a dark secret, a malevolent presence waiting to be awakened. The dream was about to become a nightmare. The Smurls moved in full of hope, ready to make the house their own. They were a hard-working, church-going family just like any other in town, but the very foundation of their home was already tainted, infested with an unseen evil. Their presence was the key that unlocked something horrific. The house looked innocent, just another two-story building on the street. No one would guess the terror brewing inside. We've seen places like this before, normal on the surface but gateways to the other side. The Smurls were about to cross a threshold they never knew existed. Their story is a chilling reminder: horror isn't just in movies or old castles, it can be in your own home. The Smurls thought they were buying a house. What they really bought was a ticket to a paranormal war. Sometimes when you move into a new house, you're not the only one living there. The house stood as a silent witness to the events about to unfold. The neighbors saw just another family moving in. But this house was different. It had a history, a dark energy clinging to its very structure. The Smurl story is one of the most documented and terrifying hauntings in American history. It serves as a stark warning. Sometimes the real nightmare begins after you turn the key. Before the darkness, the Smurls were the picture of a typical American family. Jack worked as a technical writer. Janet was a devoted homemaker raising their daughters, Dawn and Heather. They were close-knit, grounded, and deeply involved in their Catholic faith. Life was simple and happy: church on Sundays, family dinners, laughter echoing through the house. Jack's parents lived in the other half of the duplex, making it a multi-generational home filled with love. There was nothing in their background to suggest they'd invent such a tale. They were ordinary people, unprepared for the extraordinary evil about to target them. Their daughters grew up in what should have been a safe, nurturing environment. The Smurls were credible, private, and valued their place in the community. This normalcy is what makes their story so unsettling. The entity didn't choose a broken family, it chose a strong one, seeking to corrupt their peace. Their story begins not with a storm but with the quiet rhythm of family life, unaware of the predator that had marked them. Sometimes evil finds the most ordinary of people. The haunting didn't start with a scream, it started with a whisper. Soon after moving in, strange things began. Tools vanished and reappeared, the TV switched channels on its own, and deep scratches appeared on freshly painted walls. The family tried to rationalize it all. Then came the sounds: heavy footsteps on the stairs, whispers from empty rooms, and a foul, sulfur-like odor that would vanish as quickly as it appeared. These weren't normal house noises. This felt intentional. Faucets turned on by themselves, drawers slammed shut, and the house would be in disarray moments after being cleaned. It was a psychological game, designed to wear them down. The comfort of home was eroding, replaced by dread. Even with all this, they kept it to themselves, afraid of ridicule. They prayed, hoping faith would protect them, but the entity was just getting started. These early events were only a prelude. The whispers were about to turn into screams. The darkness was just warming up. The Smurls were living in a state of high alert, waiting for the next strange event. Their silence would soon be shattered. For over a decade, the Smurls endured strange events, but by 1985, things turned violent. The unseen force was no longer content with noises, it wanted to inflict fear and pain. A black, human-shaped mass floated through the house, temperatures plummeted, and guttural growls erupted from the walls.
I was pushed down the stairs by something invisible.
I was lifted from my bed and thrown against the wall. It was terrifying.
These were no longer pranks. These were violent assaults. The entity's attacks became personal and disturbing, even sexual. Both Jack and Janet reported being assaulted in their sleep by a grotesque figure. The demon targeted their daughters too. Dawn was nearly crushed by a falling ceiling fan, and both girls saw apparitions. The evil was now threatening their children. The family was living in constant terror, physically and emotionally exhausted. Their faith was tested to its limits. Pleas to the church were met with skepticism. The American dream had become a waking nightmare. They knew they couldn't fight it alone any longer. The Smurls needed help from someone who understood the darkness. The haunting was now a full-blown war for their sanity. The house was no longer a home, it was a battlefield. The entity was not a simple ghost, it was something demonic.
We realized there were 4 spirits: an old woman, a violent man, a young girl, and the worst, the demon.
The demon was the ringleader, feeding on their fear and faith.
It mocked us. Throwing Bibles, shattering crucifixes, it wanted us to lose hope.
When we tried to bless the house, it screamed, "You pig, get out of this house!"
The entity was intelligent and powerful, using their fears against them. The fight was now a spiritual battle. Jack was bitten and scratched by an unseen force.
I was dragged from my bed. I didn't feel safe anywhere.
Even Jack's parents weren't spared. They saw apparitions and heard demonic voices. The entire family was under siege, trapped in a cycle of terror. The psychological toll was immense: constant fear, lack of sleep, and emotional exhaustion. The Smurls realized their prayers weren't enough. They needed experts, people who had faced this kind of darkness before. Their search for help would lead them to the most famous paranormal investigators in the world. The house had become a prison, and the warden was a demon. The family was at their breaking point. The attacks were relentless. They needed a miracle. Desperate, the Smurls contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren in 1986. The Warrens, renowned for their work on cases like Amityville, immediately recognized the signs of a demonic infestation.
From the moment I stepped inside, I sensed the dark presences.
The Warrens confirmed the family's worst fears. The house was infested with a powerful demon. They brought in priests, performed blessings, and even held a Catholic mass. But each attempt only seemed to agitate the demon further.
We witnessed the activity: demonic growls, objects moving, sudden drops in temperature.
Lorraine was psychically tormented. Ed was physically threatened. The evidence was overwhelming. The Warrens believed the demon was trying to possess Jack and drive the family out. They arranged for exorcisms, but the demon always returned. The Catholic diocese was hesitant, but eventually Father McKenna performed the rite 3 times. Each exorcism brought chaos, banging, foul smells, physical attacks. The Warrens concluded the entity was attached to the family, not the house. The darkness would follow them wherever they went. With the Warrens involved, the Smurls' private terror became a public spectacle. The story hit national news, turning their home into a media circus. The community was divided. Some believed, others called it a hoax.
We knew the Smurls as honest people. Some of us heard strange noises ourselves.
But skeptics pointed to book deals and TV movies, calling it a shared delusion or a bid for fame.
The Catholic diocese distanced itself, fueling doubt. The family was branded as liars by many, adding public torment to their private hell. The media spotlight brought attention, but also a new kind of suffering. The Smurls were trapped, haunted by a demon, and hounded by the world. Their nightmare was now everyone's business. By late 1987, the Smurls had reached their breaking point. Years of terror, failed exorcisms, and public ridicule had taken their toll. The house was no longer a home, it was a battlefield.
We just couldn't take it anymore. We had to get out, for our kids, for ourselves.
Leaving was the hardest thing I've ever done. We just wanted a chance to heal.
The family fled Chase Street, hoping a new home would bring peace. For a time it seemed to work. The activity lessened and they began to heal. But the Warrens' warning proved true. Some activity followed them, though less intense. The scars of their ordeal would remain forever. The Smurls faded from the public eye, seeking the quiet life that had been stolen from them. They had survived the house, but not without cost. The darkness had left its mark. Their story became legend, a cautionary tale of what can happen when evil finds a home. The family's faith was their only shield. They had looked into the abyss and a piece of it had looked back. What really happened on Chase Street? The Smurl haunting remains one of the most controversial cases in paranormal history. Supporters point to eyewitness accounts and the family's terror as proof. Skeptics argue it was stress, suggestion, or a hoax. No clear evidence was ever captured. After the Smurls left, new tenants reported no activity. The house became quiet again. Was the entity gone or did it follow the family? The house stands as a silent monument to the terror that once gripped a family and a nation. Whether you believe or not, for the Smurls, the horror was real, and it leaves us all wondering, are we ever truly alone?